I hope y'all are still here. I hope y'all are here. We should be back. Are we back? I hope we're back. Yeah, I literally, my finger just slipped and hit the button to take us offline. Yes, it's that kind of day. There's hardly anybody back. I knocked everything offline with an accident. Yeah, Stream Deck is handy but dangerous. Exactly. Yeah, I meant to hit the top camera, and it turns out the button to go live is directly below that. Did you know that? I just realized that. Anyway, this is the button I'm. Oh, now it's not even working. Oh, it is working. It already went there. Never mind. I'm fine. Hi, how are you? This is a Puppet Building live stream. Oh, yeah, well, the thing is, I can't. My deck is full. So I'm going to reshuffle things. I'm going to put something less mission critical there. I actually do have one button that I can get rid of that I don't use much. So anyway. Hi, hope y'all are good. I hope you all come back. Woo! Let me just make sure that everything is actually back online. I don't know if it is. This is going to be 2 VODs on YouTube if it is. Oh well. Yeah, it looks like we're back. Oh boy. Welcome to Wednesday Twitch recovery. Yeah, YouTube's going as well, and PeerTube and Owncast. So. Good heavens. At least for the PeerTube VOD, since I don't post those automatically, I actually edit those because I want to make proper captions and everything. That I can stitch together as a single piece. So if you want the VOD as a single piece for this stream, go to the PeerTube server. That is possibly misconfigured. Wow. I should just stop trying. Let's make some eyelids. How about that? Hi, Pinecode. Yeah, I accidentally hit a button I shouldn't have hit. That was entirely user error right there. Okay. We're going to make eyelids. Why don't you make puppets? That's a thing that you very rarely screw up. Mike is a touch hot. Yeah, I know. I had to. That was among. It is. Wow, it's really hot. Let me just get that down there. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Yeah, among the many things that happened before I went live was a whole audio thing. There was like a weird drift, and it was a whole. Okay. Anyway, this is my. We're getting back to building. We're not. I'm never finishing these puppets. These puppets are going to be in limbo forever. This is my eyelid jig, which is a very strange phrase. Hey, remember when all the audio failed on the remote podcast? Yeah, when the Rodecaster of all things crashed. This is just a box with a hole in it, and a crosshair, so I can put in a thing that's got a post in the middle and hold it in place, and then I can take a compass and draw a line, and I can do it. Safely in the same place in multiple ways. So I just get a compass, because basically we want to make eyelids that are even. Hey, it looks like people are coming back. Thank you. Yeah. You ever have one of those days? You're watching me have one live. Lucky you. I'm going to go about halfway. That's usually a good call for this shape of eye. So I'm just drawing a line with the compass. Most of my days at work are one of those days, I can imagine. All right, and the reason we do it this way is so they're both even. They're both the same. There's no guesswork. Guessing is bad. Okay. So now that we've got those, we want to put some fleece on there. And that leads to the question of what color. So this is going on pink greebly. We could just do straight up pink eyelids, but I often like to do the eyelids in a darker or contrasting color, something different, something other than. Let's go to the shoulder. Being very careful what button I press. Okay, that's the correct button. Yeah, purple wouldn't be bad. We have some purple. Let's see, we got a couple of purples actually. We have a choice of purples. Oh, here's a good one. This is Weird Kid fleece too, so this is the good stuff. That's really, I mean, on the camera at least, that's quite similar. Although that's not bad. That's not a bad contrast. Let's see. Hi, Andy. Where is everyone getting their dyed fleece from these days? So it depends on the fleece that I want. If I am going for Nyla fleece, as in this stuff. Let's go to the top cam. This is the Nyla fleece. This is from Weird Kid. WeirdKidShop.com, something like that. Look up Weird Kid. That's where I tend to get my Nyla fleece from. It's the same stock as Georgia Stage, but they hand dye everything themselves, which is great. And it ends up with this really, really nice texture on it. This is my preferred. If I'm going for the good stuff, this is it. Otherwise, I use a lot of polar fleece. I have been for years an advocate of using polar fleece. And for example, this is polar fleece. And I think it looks great. Nothing wrong with it. And that I just get at a local, I get it at Fabricville. It's a local bulk fabric retailer. And the nice part about this is it's way less expensive. How is Nyla fleece versus F3? I've never tried F3, although F3 is quite similar. I've had discussions with other builders about F3, and F3 is quite similar to, if we're gonna talk shop. F3 is very similar in texture to Fuzzell from Puppet Pelts. I'm not even sure where Puppet Pelts is at these days. Puppet Pelts got sold and then got bought, and it's weird. Does it bunch up when you sew? Which bunch up when you sew? So I've never used F3. I have used Fuzzell, and they are similar in texture. I haven't noticed excessive bunching in anything that I've used. It depends on your sewing technique, really. That's the thing. If you're finding that your fabric is bunching, you've got one or a combination of two problems. One is that your thread may not be good quality. That is a big thing. Get yourself, if you're going to spend money anywhere, spend it on stuff like thread. Good needles, good thread, good fabric, like all of that stuff, right? Puppet Pelts, so annoyed with it. Really? Yeah, I haven't dealt with Puppet Pelts since before it got sold. Like Lori and Cindy were great, but I don't know what's going on with them now. So I can't really afford to get stuff from Puppet Pelts just because I'm in Canada, and the shipping and the import fees are insane. So it's really not an option for me to deal with Puppet Pelts anymore anyway. So it's kind of a moot point. But getting back to F3 and Fuzzell share very similar properties. They look fantastic. They seem blend great, but I don't like the texture. They're not very stretchy, and I find that when you cut them, they fragment into these weird little fibers. They're very plasticky. They feel like the loop side of hook and loop, like Velcro, and I don't really like it. Weird Kid, yeah, Weird Kid is actually in Canada, so they are relatively local to me. So it ends up being a bit cheaper for me to get from Weird Kid than from anywhere in the States. So, but that if you're not in Canada, that may be the opposite for you, right? It might be more expensive because you may have import fees. I don't know how it works, but I just know if I want to get anything from anywhere else in the world, it costs a lot of extra money. I have not sharpened my scissors yet. That's on the agenda. But we were talking about bunching. I'm trying to go down the list here. So bunching, if you're sewing and you're bunching, A, good quality thread, and B, just your technique. Go slower. And I find that what will happen is the thread starts to twist. And that's why, like, every stitch or three, I usually just sort of like run my fingers down the thread and untwist it, because as you're sewing, the thread's going to be twisting, and that will lead to it sort of wrapping it around itself or other things, and that's what will lead to bunching. It also might mean that your stitches are too wide and too tight. You're pulling too tight. So what's happening is if your stitches are wide apart and you're pulling tight, it's gonna bunch up the fabric. So try and do shorter stitches. Try and do like this tidy little neat, very close stitches, and don't pull too tight. You want to be snug, but you don't want to really haul on the thing. You want to have it just snug. But that's it. And also a locking whip stitch. If you're using a whip stitch, which is just where you're going like in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, that's a whip stitch. There's a variant of the whip stitch called the locking whip stitch, where you're basically, you'll have to look it up on YouTube. I can't really demonstrate it right now, but it's what I always use. I never use a regular whip stitch. I always use a locking whip stitch. And basically it's the same as a whip stitch, but you're sort of wrapping the thread around once and you're tying a little knot every single stitch. And that means that the tension is kind of built in. With a regular whip stitch, as you're whip stitching along, you can kind of like be drawing the fabric in, and that's going to cause bunching. Whereas with a locking whip stitch, every single stitch has its own kind of tension that it's built in, and you're not going to distribute that tension along the length of the stitch. If that makes any sense. Look up locking whip stitch. That may be the solution to your problem if you're sewing as bunching. I found that a lot too. Using a whip stitch, it's a regular whip stitch, it was bunching like mad. And as soon as I switched to a locking whip stitch, problem solved. So look up locking whip stitch. It's really easy. I don't even I have to think to do a regular whip stitch now. It's just instinct to do a locking whip stitch now. So there's my advice for that stuff. Okay, let's get back to these eyelids. Yeah, I like this purple. This is also Weird Kid Fleece, which I really love. I don't have a lot. I'm gonna have to do another order soon because I don't have a lot of it left. In fact, I don't think I have enough left to build a whole puppet out of anything. I don't. So brace yourself, credit card, because there's a Weird Kid order coming soon. Let's do this. We're gonna do this purple. So what I do is I just cut. Now we do want to pay attention to the direction of the stitch. You can tell at some point I was making hands. I don't know if you can kind of see it on the camera. There's hands. You want to, when I stretch these, I want to stretch them like around the width. I don't want the stretch to go along the height. I want it to go along the width. So you do have to pay attention to the direction of the stretch. Always pay attention to the direction of the stretch. So it looks like this is the stretchy direction. So I want to do a really nice straight cut. Let's see if we can do it with my unsharpened scissors. A rotary cutter would be good here too. I do have some, I just don't know where they are. I'm not going to dig around on stream. But you want to try and do a nice straight cut that doesn't have a lot of, fringy, snippy bits. That's pretty good. Because this is going to be the edge of the eyelids. And then for the rest, we're just going to cut always cut more than you need. I'm just going to cut little squares. It should be plenty. We're going to cut those in two. We're doing two eyelids. One of these will probably be enough for two, but I always like to give myself some insurance. And so what we're going to end up doing is gluing them like this, just following that line around the eye. This might be not a bad place for the close-up cam. Give me a sec here. Gonna move this. This is the alien head skin from last week. I never got anywhere close to finishing it. Let me get the close-up cam out here. And carefully press the button to switch to the close-up cam. There we go. It's going to be shaky cam as I adjust it. Forgive me. I hate shaky cam, so I understand the aversion. So yes, we're gonna be gluing it onto the eye like this, and then we're just gonna trim off the excess, and then we're gonna put a eyeliner, a nice black eyeliner on that. So in order to do this, we are gonna have to get the glue out. It's time. You know it's time. It's danger honey time. We got the barge. We're gonna have the barge, and that means that the fans got to go on, and the mask and the gloves got to go on. Safety first. I don't have any throat lozenges. This could be a problem. Don't talk like Frankie then, Kevin. Do I have throat lozenges? I don't think I do. Nope. I do not. Oh well. Yep, mask up always. All right. We're actually at that point now because the next thing to do is glue. So let's turn the fans on. So for those of you who are new, you can do a lot of substitutions for things in puppet building. The one thing you cannot substitute is good contact cement. Hot glue is not a substitute for contact cement. This is the stuff that, this or related things. These are industrial contact cements. This stuff is dangerous. This is toxic fumes. You do not want to breathe this in. Why would their logo be a bear glued to a shoe sole? Well, I don't know about the bear part, but barge is like specifically for shoemakers. It's for cobblers. It's for holding shoes together. That's among the reasons why this is so widely used, is because this stuff, once it holds on, it's not coming off. But it's also flexible. That's the other thing, right? Only for ursine cruelty. I know. Why would you glue a bear to a shoe? Yeah. Anyway, when you are dealing with either barge or any other industrial adhesives or solvents, always wear a respirator, always wear gloves. Work in a well-ventilated environment. That's why I turned the fans on. That's venting air out. Because this stuff will mess you up. That being said, absolutely use it. Don't be scared of it. Just take the proper safety precautions. Yeah, imagine leaving your hot glue puppet in a car on a summer day. I've never had that experience. I want to say something like that related happened to me at some point where I think it's that like hot glue or hot melt, as it's technically supposed to be known, isn't really glue, right? It's just melted polymer. So it can crack. And if it's on a non-porous surface, it can just lift off, right? I've had stuff like that happen before. Not with puppets, thankfully, but with just other stuff I've tried to hold together with hot glue. Didn't work out so well. Hot glue has uses, but they are limited. So anyway, I got a couple of gloves here. I got the respirator, which means, I'm gonna have to get the second mic out. I don't know. Here's the other mic. I don't know if this mic even has a charge. I'm gonna put it on the mask. We're gonna try it. You may not be able to hear me for the duration of me having the mask on, but let's find out. Let's put the gloves on first. Actually, let's get the barge open first. Okay, barge is open. If the car can get hot enough to soften the vinyl record, hot melt isn't that much of a choice. Yeah, it's true. Or anything 3D printed with PLA, for example, that'd be a problem. I can like, warp and bend a PLA printed object with a hairdryer. Like a hot car, forget it. Okay, so mask is gonna go on. I hope the mic is working. I totally forgot to charge it. because of all of the things. I wasn't actually planning on gluing anything today. I wasn't planning on eyelids. Well, the light came on. Hopefully, this might sound a bit weird because we've got two bikes at the same time going here, but I don't know. Let's see what happens.
All right. Well, I can see, wow, it looks real hot actually. Let's turn that down a bit. All right. I think you should be able to hear me. Probably muffled, but oh well. I would rather have lungs, you know. All right, so let's just put some barge on the things. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the barge on the fabric. So you want thin, light coats, as always. Don't get too gloppy. Be slow and gentle. And definitely get it along the edge that you want to be the edge of the eyelid. And be careful because this will soak through and you don't want that. You want to just have it thinly coated on one side. Oh, large barge. All right, this looks worse on the camera than it actually does in real life, just FYI. There isn't quite these like dark and light spots like it is on the camera. Oops, ugh, look at that. All right. That should be good. There, that's good. And likewise on the eyelids, being careful you don't go over the line. Sorry if this is off camera. I'm not always cognizant of keeping this in frame. I also put some around the back for reasons which you will find out. Basically, I like to wrap it around so there's a nice finished edge. Okay, there's one, setting it down very carefully. This one. I want the eyelid on the slightly heavier side, so. Oh, sorry, we're off camera again. Like that. This is hard to do with one pair of hands. I found another Nylafleece supplier in the States called Georgia Stage. Georgia Stage are the people who own Nylafleece. They are the origin point of Nylafleece. And they're nice. I've ordered from them before. Nylafleece own the patent and the copyright to Nylafleece. They're who everybody orders from. So Puppet Pelt and Weird Kid both order from Georgia Stage. They are the owners of Nylafleece. That's why it's called Nylafleece. That's a brand name. Okay. So now that we've got the glue on, we want to let it dry and get tacky. I'm going to give it a bit of help with the hairdryer. Yeah, Andy, I'm going to show you, after I'm done this part and I get the mask off, I'm going to show you the difference between Georgia Stage and Weird Kid Fleece. So stick around, I'm going to show you something. Hey, Owncast! Just forwarded the stream to our puppeteering team. Awesome, thank you. Nice to see you in the Fediverse! We love the Fediverse. All right, so this is it. I'm basically just layering that in, following that line, gluing it down, just like that. So now we want to come around the back and we want to sort of pull and stretch this so we don't get a bunch of wrinkles. This is the nice thing about fleece, is it's stretchy, so you can do this. All right, so there's where we are with that. If you look around the front, you can see where we're going. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Puppet themed music. Okay, so now that we're at this stage, what I like to do is we're going to trim off the excess, and then I want to wrap it around and glue it to the underside of the eye here. And that way you get a nice finished edge. There's no scraggly bits on the edge. It's a technical term. You don't want your scraggles. Down at Scraggle Rock. And to do that, I got a bit of glue, shouldn't have, but oh well. To do that, I use these. These are Teflon coated non-stick scissors because there's glue on these, so you don't want it sticking to the thing. So I'm going to trim it off to about 1/4 inch or so. Right, just like that. Then, because we put glue on the inside edge here, we can wrap this around. Just like so. There you see from the front, that makes a nice finished edge. I like finished edges. I don't like rough bits. I don't like seeing netting. Nice and clean and tidy. Okay, also, Owncast, your puppeteering stream, you're on the Fediverse. I'm looking for other puppet people on the Fediverse. Hook me up. Go to operationpuppet.com. You'll find my all my links. Okay. The same deal. We just trim it, wrap it around, glue it down. Nice and tidy. There we go. Look at that. Couple of nice funky eyes. Okay. Now that that's done, I can show Andy little demonstration, little fleece lecture. This is capped off now, so we can unmask and unglove. There you go. To the face cam.
Oh, yowzer. I think I have to loosen the straps on that mask. Oh, this is how Bane feels at the end of the day. Okay. Let me just get a couple things here I could show you, Andy, because yeah, there is a difference between the fleece that you get from Weird Kid and the fleece that you get from Georgia Stage. Like I said, Georgia Stage owns Nylon Fleece. They're literally the manufacturers, and they are the single source for all Nylon Fleece. So when Puppet Pelts is really just a reseller. This is why Puppet Pelts is focused on getting Fuzzell up, because they own Fuzzell, right? They don't own Nylon Fleece. They have to buy Nylon Fleece as a wholesaler and then sell it in retail. And that's how that works. But let's go to the top cam and not knock the stream offline again. So this is fleece from Georgia Stage, this green here. I think this might be Kermit green. Of the many Kermit greens, there are many, FYI. Ask me anything about building a Kermit. No, don't, not right now. So this is fleece from Georgia Stage. This, I don't have a lot, so it's gonna be all kind of scrappy and bits and pieces. Oh, actually the purple we were using this is from Weird Kid. Now, you may not be able to tell what Weird Kid does. So when you get dyed fleece from Georgia Stage, they use a mill dyeing process. What's the difference between Nylon Fleece and Fuzzell? They're completely different chemical compositions. Ooh, you know what? I've got a little piece of Fuzzell here. I can actually show you that too. This is one of the few remaining pieces of the Oracle's skin that I had spare. So this is Fuzzell. This is the stuff that is owned by Puppet Pelts. We'll talk about this compared to Nylon Fleece in a second. Let's get to the Nylon Fleece stuff first. So Georgia Stage, because they're an industrial manufacturer, they use a mill dyeing process. Basically, a big machine does it, and it comes out of the mill dyed. And so what you have with dyed fleece that you order from Georgia Stage is this. It's got a very smooth texture, right? Which is great. And if that's what you're going for, that's fantastic. And it looks great and it feels great. It's nice, soft and stretchy and all the stuff you'd want, and nice and thick as well. which is, this is what you want for a Milo fleece. However, if you dye it yourself, or if it gets hand dyed, or like in a washing machine and then left to dry, don't put fleece in a dryer, FYI. It ends up like this. It starts getting pilly. Now this is from Weird Kid. Weird Kid only orders white and they dye everything themselves. So it doesn't have the mill, that sort of uniform mill texture. It has this very crinkly, kind of reticulated, pilly texture. And I love this stuff. I love this texture even. And everybody who sees it on a finished puppet, it immediately kind of go, oh, this is quite similar to the original Muppet fleece as well. Antron, the original Antron fleece, which doesn't exist anymore, is very similar in texture to this stuff. It gets pilly. Over time, you even might want to like shave it down because it gets a little too pilly. But I really, really love this. And because they hand dye it, it ends up even stretchier and even softer than the stuff that comes out of the mill. So if you get dyed fleece from Georgia Stage, this is what you're going to end up with, and it's great, and you can absolutely use it, and it's fantastic. But if you want to go a little bit further and kind of up your game, and if you like the texture, either get white stuff or just go to Weird Kid or get them to dye it for you, and you'll end up with this nice pilly texture. Or the other way is, if you take this stuff, I don't know if I have an example of that. No, I don't. If you get the dyed stuff from Georgia Stage, you take this, you throw it in a washing machine with no soap on a cold cycle, and then you hang it to dry, it will become this. You can turn the mill dyed stuff into hand dyed stuff by just putting it through a washing machine cycle. And you'll end up with a nice texture and the nice softness. So there's the little tip there. So probably your best bet is to just order from Georgia Stage and toss it in a washing machine. And that's it. And again, don't ever put fleece in a dryer. You'll end up with fuzz. And just let it air dry and you're good. I prefer I mean, I don't have the room really to dye around here. I can dye in small batches, but I can't dye enough to do a whole puppet. So I just get Weird Kid to do it for me. But yeah, so Fuzzell, on the other hand, let's get to the close-up cam here and we'll get a real tight view of Fuzzell. Fuzzell is a proprietary fabric that is owned by Puppet Pelts that was sort of pioneered by them. And it is, it looks great. So it's got a very Antron-y texture. It isn't very stretchy. It's hardly any stretch to it at all. Now, you can seam blend this stuff really, really well, like the Oracle, for example. I don't know, Andy, if you're familiar with my show, The Oracle. The Oracle, the lead character of The Oracle, is made from Fuzzell. This is, in fact, a bit of the Oracle's skin. Let me see if we can... This is the only camera that will autofocus at a... Oop, let's get rid of that. That will autofocus in a close-up. So let's try it here. Let's grab the Oracle here. So, forgive me, this is, shattering some illusions here, but here's the Oracle, right? So this is Fuzzell. There is a seam down the center of the nose. But in order to see that seam, look how close I have to get. Like, there's no seam there. That's impossible. Nope. I promise there is a seam right down there. And that's how well Fuzzell seam blends. It's amazing. So that's great. If you want a blended seam, both Fuzzell and F3 are similar in that they will seam blend like stink. They are also similar in that they are very plasticky feeling. They're very rough. This against your skin actually kind of feels abrasive. This isn't soft at all. I personally don't like using this, and I'll never use this again. I did the Oracle out of it just as an experiment to sort of go, okay, let's do the best of the best. So it's not also not cheap. So I tried it, and like I said, he looks fantastic, but to work with this stuff, I'm not a fan. I know other people who swear by it, you know, more power to them, but it's not for me. I prefer, my absolute favorite is the hand-dyed Nyla fleece, usually from Weird Kid, because I don't really have the room to do a lot of dyeing. So there's your fleece lecture. I hope that clears up a few things. By all means, if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer. But we got some eyes to be getting on with, so let's go back to the close-up cam. Yeah. Okay, so here's where we are with the eyes. Get a couple of eyes. Trying to get into. This is really, it's such an awkward angle that there's no intuitiveness to this. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I want to put like a nice black line along the rim. There you go, Pineco. Nice eyes emoji. Exactly. And what I prefer to use is, if I have any, Kevin's looking around at the shop and hoping to find the thing he wants to find. It's a 50-50 chance. Let's see. No, that's velvet. That's velvet. Ah, here we go. I got some. This is Sticky Back Craft Foam. This is my favorite thing to make the eye line out of. So you can get this. I got this on Amazon. I'm ashamed to say. But this is, so craft foam is a very thin, I'm not even sure what kind of foam it is. It's very crumbly. It's not, you wouldn't want to like build a puppet out of this stuff. But it's cheap. And this stuff is sticky back. So it's basically like a big sticker. And it has a bit of thickness. It has a little bit of, you know, it almost feels like a neoprene. But what I like to do for making my eye lines is I'll cut a very thin strip of this, and then we'll just stick it along the edge. And to do that, a very sharp X-Acto knife. In fact, I may have to change the blade. That's had some things done to it. Like, let's just go ahead and do that. Taking the blade out, disposing of it in a sharps container safely, and getting a new blade. Wherever the heck I put those. Everything is everywhere. Which is why to find it, you have to look everywhere. Great, I already threw that blade out and now I can't find my other blades. My last name is Blades. This should be impossible. Maybe we'll use a razor blade because I can't find my X-Acto knife blades. Just another in the whole series of comedy of errors of this day. Oh, wait, I think I found some. Here we go. X-Acto knife blades. I have another box of them that's already open somewhere that I don't know what the heck happened to those, but they're in here somewhere. It's totally safe to keep a drawer full of just loose blades flopping around. How would you do the eyelids on a full ping pong ball? With great difficulty, Anne. I'm sure I've got that somewhere in the archives. The problem with ping pong balls and eyelids is size. Most of your standard ping pong balls that you would buy now are 40 millimeter. And if you were to just cut one of those in half and make a shell, well, so first of all, that's the first thing. It's much better to do a shell rather than to try and like glue, you know, a lid directly onto the ping pong ball. It's much more in your best interest to make shells that you can put fleece on and then stick onto the outside of the ping pong ball. But the problem, of course, is what size shells do you get? Because if you were to just take Sorry, I'm having some blade distractions here. If you were to just take a regular 40 millimeter ping pong ball, cut it in half, and try and stick half of a ping pong ball on a full ping pong ball, it won't socket correctly. It won't be big enough, basically. You need something that's slightly bigger. So one way you could do it is if you can find 38 millimeter ping pong balls, which are still possible to get. Then what you do is you get some 40 millimeter ping pong balls and some 38 millimeter ping pong balls, and you cut the 40 millimeter ping pong balls in half, and then you use that as a shell. The other thing you do, if you have access to a 3D printer, you can print out some shells. That's probably the best solution, but I know that that's not an option for a lot of people. If I do eyelids on a sphere, I usually print out shells, or I do 38 millimeter balls with 40 millimeter shells. Other than that, it's really hard. And you could just try guessing. You know, you could just sort of try putting the fleece on and cutting it, and I don't know, it's not easy. It's actually one of the harder things to do. But at that point, when you print your own safety eyes, possibly it's really because of the non-resin printer, it's really hard to get a nice smooth surface. You will always end up with kind of layer lines, and sometimes you don't want that. It is possible to smooth them out, but by that point, you're doing so much work that you might as well just use a ping pong ball, you know? So ping pong balls are still a good option. The other thing that I will say is, I'm getting so distracted today, but it's good. People are having questions, and we like questions. If you get, instead of ping pong balls, if you go to Puppet Pie and you get these EVA foam spheres, you can get them in a variety of sizes. This is a standard 40 millimeter, so this is the size of a ping pong ball. Why is that still? The picture-in-picture is getting weird. This is a standard 40 millimeter EVA foam sphere ping pong ball. The thing about the EVA foam is this is kind of squishy. This has some flex, and this is a solid piece of rubber, basically. So if you were to take a 40 millimeter ping pong ball, cut it in half, you can sort of squeeze it onto this 40 millimeter EVA foam sphere, and it, you know, as long as you apply enough force, it'll work. So that's another option, is to not use a ping pong ball for the eye itself, but to use an EVA foam sphere. So there's a number of options. I know none of them are great, but that's just the reality of it. Your explanations of comparisons of fleece types were fantastic. Yeah, if you want a little bit more in depth. In the Owncast server, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, I know that's not their real name, obviously. Yeah, so on Thingiverse, there are some eyes you can print out. Thingiverse is a 3D printing website. If you go to the Owncast server at operationpuppet.live, there's some links in the chat there where you can look up some 3D printed puppet eyes for your 3D printers. Thank you, Doctor. So anyway, yeah, that's the eye lecture. The fleece stuff. If you go to the YouTube channel or the PeerTube server at puppet.zone, there's a playlist for building a puppet with accessible materials. It's one of my older. Hey, Pinecone's got it. Thank you, Pinecone. I give a whole lecture there about why we use certain materials over other materials, and alternatives that are probably more accessible to the average person than some of the more expensive stuff. So, hey, Indies Keep, nice to see you. It's been a comedy of errors. I actually knocked the whole stream offline at one point, and you missed that. Oh well. But yeah, so go to either YouTube channel or the PeerTube server, and there is a playlist for a much heavier version of me. I get weird when I look at my old videos now because I've lost so much weight in the past couple of years that it's like, this is a completely different human. Anyway, so yeah, don't judge me. But the older, heavier me will give you a lecture about why we use fleece, for example, why we use certain types of foam, and what you might want to consider as alternatives for that. So it's a building a puppet with accessible materials playlist. I wish I recommend it so often that I should have it ready to go at a moment's notice, but I don't because I'm disorganized. I don't know if you've noticed that. All right, I'm just gonna cut a thin strip. Try and make it even. And try not to cut your fingers off. Okay, there we go. Nice thin strip. Stop breaking. Think that's supposed to happen in Frankie Play streams. I know. I know. Believe me, I know. Okay, I'm gonna put the sharp blade away now because I'm dangerous today. Oh, I just knocked the cap off of the very sharp blade. That's very dangerous because it's pointing up. Okay, there we go. Never mind. Crisis averted. After this stream, I'm just gonna go lay down in a dark room and not move. And hopefully that will save much anguish. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna cut it in half. Folding it in half and then cutting it in half. And then, now we want to make this, I'm going to go to the close-up cam again and try to not knock the stream offline again. Okay, here we go. We want this considerably longer than the eye itself, and you'll see why in a second. And we want to start in the middle, and we want to have a lot of overhang like that. You see how we want that. That's good. So since this is sticky back, it's just like a sticker. You just peel off the back. You start sticking it down. Now this stuff will not hold over time. This will lift off, but that's okay. This is just there kind of temporarily to hold it in place. You know what? I didn't do a great job at cutting this even. This looks a little too uneven. These two eyes are going to have two different thicknesses, and that's not good. I don't want that. So I want to try again to cut this evenly. This is me being a perfectionist. But you'd think you'd measure, but no. The problem is because this is foam, it can actually warp and move a little bit. So even though I am cutting across a straight line, it may not end up straight. Let's see, how's that? That's not bad. I actually like it a bit thicker anyway. We'll go with that. We'll see if I can make two that are the same. How close are these? This is a little too thick. Kevin is being very picky about this. This is a place where it's okay to be a little picky. I find this matters quite a lot. You know, sometimes you just gotta give it a few tries till you get it right. Let's see. Or cut a whole bunch and then find the two that match up the closest. Okay, these are good. These two are good. Okay, let's go with that. Now, I'm not going to throw these out. I'm just the ones that I'm not using. I'll just put them aside. Eventually, I'll make ones that are that width. Okay. As we were. Mini paper cutter they used for scrap paper craft. Yes, there's also a leather crafting tool that they use to make straps. That would be good for this. I just don't happen to have one, so good call though. It's the right tool for the right job, right? Okay, there we go. Peeling off the back, and then we are very carefully sticking this down, kind of trying to get it halfway on the fleece and halfway on the plastic. Siran in the Owncast chat, using a scalpel holder with a built-in LED light myself. Ooh, very fancy. I like that. Also, I like that we got some Owncast chat happening. That's cool. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Got a little bit of fur stuck in it there, but we can fix that. There we go. You see where we're going here, right? That's pretty good. Now, leave those bits hanging out the edge. We'll just carry on with the second one. Take off the backing. Now, I always start in the middle so we make sure we have a relatively even overhang on both sides. And the reason that we've got the overhang is because we're going to wrap that around and then glue it inside. And that, again, will make a nice finished edge. Now, remember how I was saying that hot glue has its uses? They're just not many. This is the case of good use case for hot glue. So what I'm going to do, these are a little too long, so I'm going to trim these down a little bit. Now I could do this with barge. I just don't want to get the mask out and the whole 9 yards. It's a real pain. So because this is sticky back, you can sort of fold this around and it will hold in place good enough for the moment. And then we're going to secure it with some hot glue. And once that hot glue sets, that should be it. This should be donezo. All right, so you see what I've done there? I'm going to wrap it around. All right, so when you put this on the head, look at how clean that is. It's a nice, refined, clean edge. That's the goal. And these don't have to be safety eyes. You can 3D print something, or you can do this with a ping pong ball. It's all, as long as you've got some kind of shell. And this method is good. I just happen to have these safety eyes, but I've done this with all kinds of objets. So the problem with the hot glue here, it's always a problem with hot glue, is Thunder McNeil. Kabila, thank you. Kabila the Chicken in Owncast is now known as Thunder McNeil. In Owncast, when you join chat, it randomly assigns you a username, and then you can change it. And so you can sort of have your own list of names that it randomly chooses from. So I've just added all Muppet names. Of course I did, because why wouldn't I? But welcome, Thunder McNeil. Yeah, so the problem with adding the hot glue here to secure this in place is what's going to happen is the hot glue is going to hit the adhesive on the back of the sticker and lift it off. So you kind of have to go in there and sort of poke it down until the glue sets. It's a little fiddly. In some ways, it's almost better to just go straight for the barge and do it that way, not worry about this. But again, for the purposes of this stream, and I'm just gonna glop a little bit of hot glue in there. If you're lucky, sometimes it doesn't lift off. Also, because like when you snap this in place, if these are nice and tight, that will just hold it in place anyway. This is really just a little bit of extra insurance to make sure it doesn't lift off. So basically now we have to just wait for this hot glue to set. Right, so we just glued it all down in there. All right. And there we go. So while we're waiting for the hot glue to set, whew, hi Kermit. Oh, do I have? I don't have any coffee left. What time? What time? How long have we been streaming? I have no idea because, okay, we got like half an hour left. I'm gonna go get more coffee. I'll be right back. I'm gonna hit a button that hopefully will not knock the stream offline, but will just put up the be right back screen. It's fine. Everything is fine. I'll be right back. Really? Oh. I mean, so the text for the be right back thing that was Bitfocus Companion didn't hide and show because I just have one scene for all the the interstitials and I just changed the text and it just didn't hide the text that should have hidden. It showed the text that it should have showed, but it didn't hide the comedy of errors. Anyway, I'm after the stream. When I have lunch, after lunch, I'm going to the gym, and let me tell you, I'm doing an hour today. I need it. Woo. Yeah. So we're waiting for glue to set. We look good. It is not lifting off. Hey, something's going right for a change. Yeah, we look good. Okay, we're gonna be able to mount those eyes. So that's next. Which means we're going to be playing with fire. Hey, that's a good idea today. Literally playing with fire. Totally. What could possibly go wrong? I hope you all are doing better than I am today. It's a day. I got the door slightly ajar, so Jimmy may wander in. He was standing outside the door yelling when I went out to get my coffee, so. Now that the door is open, of course, he doesn't want anything to do with me. He just didn't want the door closed, and so. Who doesn't love hot copper clad welding rods? Yeah. Okay, let's get, oh, sure. I just decided to go, and then Jimmy wanders in. Come on. You want your cameo? You had a cameo last week. Yeah. There we go. Jimmy's cameo. The internet celebrity. Jimmy the Puppet Cat. Music's not impressed. You not impressed? Hmm? You want to make a puppet? Probably not a good idea. All right. Here you go. Everybody's admired you. Out. I'm playing with fire. You're not allowed in the room. All right, door is closed. Jimmy's going to be yelling his head off, but hey. Okay, so now that we're here, let me put the, once again, forgive my torso. How are we going to do this? Let's do it with the shoulder cam. Okay, the picture is okay, finally. Hit the button and something worked the way it should. There's a number of ways you can do this. So obviously to mount these, we need to make some, these are on pegs, so we need to make some holes in the head. Question 1, where do the holes go? Well, it really depends on where you want the eyes. In this case, what I usually do when I'm sort of figuring out eye placement is I'll often take a little chip clip clamp and I'll clamp the mouth closed just because the sort of shape of the head changes a little bit. And you want to sort of see how it's sitting when the mouth is closed. I also do this when I'm going to take pictures of them because it just looks nicer. You don't get the eternal Muppet scream. You also have to remember the head profile will change a little bit when there's a hand in there. So sometimes you might want to like stuff it or something just to make sure the placement's right. I don't worry too much about being that fiddly. So we're just gonna sort of figure out where on the head we want to place the eyes. So I usually just using the center line as your kind of guide. And I go, okay, that's all right. So because these are have pegs, what I do is I just kind of hold them about where I think they should sit. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing ever is. But then I'll take one away, make sure I'm holding this one in place, mark that with a pin exactly where the peg is sitting. Keep it, fold it, put the other one back, line them up, see how they're sitting. Take that one away, take a pin, go where the post is, mark it. So these pins are about where you want to make your holes. This one seems a little high. Let me just take this down a little bit, because once you're here, once you've got the pins, you can kind of really see with pinpoint precision, get it? Precision where these holes are relative to the rest of the head. Remember, these are soft materials, so this isn't going to be perfectly symmetrical. I've mounted it on the sides of the head with a wide field of view. Griblies are a prey species. I mean, was there ever any doubt? I don't think these are predators. I don't know what you would do with the Griblies with the spherical eyes on top. I mean, they, in theory, could have a 360-degree field of view. I guess that's even more prey. Still seems a little off. Let me just, I'm gonna refine this a little bit. So, usually when I'm happy with the placement, or I'm happy enough with the placement, then I take a marker of similar but slightly darker color. You don't want to go too crazy with the marking things up, just in case something goes wrong. But smallest of eyes on the front of their head, so they are a predatory species. I mean, we know about those smalls, right? So I'm going to mark where the pin is. Just a very, very subtle little mark that I can see that you can't really, but that's the way it is. Actually, top cam probably be good for this. Yeah, so there's a mark right there. I know you can barely see it, but that's the point, is you can barely see it. Right there. So there we go. We now know where our two holes should be. Now, how do you make a hole? There are several options for hole making. You can take something pointy, like an O, and just poke a hole. You could cut a hole. Cutting isn't a recommended Now for the ocular castigation, exactly. Cutting isn't recommended here because when you cut, you're actually like making a slice, and that can tear and open over time. So cutting is not a good option. You don't want to like get in there with a pair of scissors and try and make a hole. So an awl is a good option because basically instead of cutting fibers, you are sort of just forcing them apart. But you're keeping most of them intact, and that's good. That's good for that won't fray and kind of open up over time. The best option, those of you who are regulars will know this. Fire. Be very careful if you take this option. This is dangerous. Oh, I already had to make some holes today, so I've already got the rig already here. So this is a little piece of copper-clad steel welding rod. This is the same stuff I use for arm rods. Make sure you use something that's heat safe. And I clamped them in a pair of vice grips. There we go, Pinecone with the emojis. This is a butane. This is a culinary butane torch. It's the kind of thing you'd make like creme brulees with. You can get these really easy. We are going to heat up the end of the rod till it glows. Yeah, so it's very, very, very hot, and we're going to burn holes where we have these marks. And the good part of this is it will basically create like a cauterized opening. It will melt the synthetic materials here and create a nice clean opening that won't fray, that won't split open or anything like that. It'll be a nice clean mounting point. It's also dangerous, so be very careful and be very sort of situational awareness while you're doing this. So I have an open window with a fan going, venting outwards. So sorry, I bumped the camera. And I'm going to be putting this, tip up in the window to cool off before I touch it after I'm done here. So I wonder if you see this here, kind of. I'm not going to worry too much about keeping this in camera because safety is more important than that, but I also have it locked. Always have it locked when you're not using it. You probably can't see the flame. You can a little bit, I guess. So I'm just heating this up until it glows. And then very quickly, 1, 2, get smoke. And there we go. Now I'm taking this, putting it this way in the windowsill, in front of the fan to cool off. This is also not a bad place to wear a mask because that smoke is gross. So you don't want to be breathing that in a lot. It's so fast though, as you can see, that you don't really need to worry about it. Yeah, so that's where we are. And there we go. We have our nice, clean, cauterized entrance points. So we can take the chip clip out now. And the way these eyes work, so, depending on how you're mounting your eyes, it's going to be different. But these are just little locking washers that go on the back of these. So this is real simple. I'm just going to plop these in. And I'm going to put the locking washer on, but I'm not going to push it down all the way because we want to sort of even out the angle of the eyelids. You got to sort of push down. There we go. There's one. The other one in. Get the washer. You kind of have to feel your way around. This is a very tactile experience. And snap that in place. Oh, sorry, I know it's off camera, but gotta really lean into it. There we go. Okay, there we go. Eyes are now secured. Once these are on, they ain't coming off. So there we go. This actually looks pretty good already. I'm just gonna sort of have a look at it. I wonder if we can, maybe this camera's a little bit better for, it's really blown out though, unfortunately, but you know, so the angle is really kind of what feels right, you know, like you can do angry Greebly, you know, or just kind of there. That's pretty good. I like, you know, we want the friendly Greebly. We don't want a mad Greebly. But again, right, this is where the creative sort of fun, like what's the character? This is where that happens. We're going to do friendly Greebly. So that's pretty good. And this can change, you know, like later. This isn't set in stone. Once they're on, but you can obviously just rotate them. And that's good. So there we go. There's the eyes. Eyes done, mounted. Hooray. Now, we need a tongue and we need some hair. I don't do the pupils till the very last because there's a lot, it's very fiddly to get eye focus right. So, let's see here. Whew. Let's see where we're at with the Greebly here. I'm an undead Greebly. It talks like Kermit for some reason. The Kermit scrunch. Oh, you know. Not bad. Not bad. It seems to be all right. It's pretty good eye focus already. Blank eyes. I know, right? It's, you know, it's the Japanese horror Greebly. So for hair, I usually just do a little sort of top knot, a little tuft of hair on the top. I don't know that I have any pink ostrich feathers. Sorry, I know I'm not on camera currently, and I'm in a place in the puppet pit that you can't actually see me. There's no camera that reaches over here, so I'm just getting out my bag of feather remnants and seeing what I got. Now I've got these wouldn't be, these are like big bioths. These are like big stiff, like these aren't nice and floppy, so these wouldn't be good. And I don't think I have any pink fringe. This is the stuff I usually use, this fringe. But what we have some purple. The purple might be okay. Let's have a look at that. We've got red. Red also wouldn't be bad, but I think purple would be better. And that's kind of it. I got some blue, obviously not. No. Got some black, but, you know. Black actually wouldn't be, I really like the combination of pink and black. It's one of my favorite color combos. In this case, I'm not sure that it would work unless we're doing like goth Greebly. I've done a number of goth Greeblys. Go fig. I don't think this is going to be that. I think, well, if we do this with the feathers, I think we'll just do the purple. Let's have a look at what that looks like. And we'll go to the top cam, we'll lay it down. This is not a bad camera for this sort of thing, as long as I do it like a cooking demonstration. So this is good purple too. This is like a good length. And you know, because the eyelids are purple too, so this kind of goes together, right? That's not bad. That's pretty good actually. So the other thing I usually do like a little kind of roll, like a little top knot of the feathers just to get the movement, but I usually don't do it all feathers. I usually also do fur around the base. So maybe we could do pink around the base and then just the purple top knot. That would be kind of cool. So for the purple hair or the pink hair on the top, let me have a look, because I've got some other pink furs that might add some interesting texture or possibly length. So I've got this little scrap. And this is, wow, on camera that's like really blown out, but this is very like shiny and silky, right? This might not be, this would be kind of interesting, I think, for the top. Maybe we'll go with this. That's not too bad. And that would still work. Yeah, let's try it. Okay, so what I do for the base of the hair is I just cut a circle. And in fact, the circle I cut is the diameter of a can of barge. Because it's handy. And since it's a circle, you don't have to worry about what direction the fur is going in, because it's a circle. And I usually just give a little bit of a seam allowance, just eyeball it. And then we'll cut that out. What time is it? 12:12. Okay. We'll go to 12:30, and then the diabetic needs lunch. So I am cutting fur with scissors. If you cut fur with scissors, make sure you only cut the backing and not the fur itself. That's why I'm doing little tiny snips, just cutting the backing. This is another case where we are actually going to use some hot glue. The nice thing about doing these on stream is, and then putting them up on the shop is, you know, whoever buys them, I can sort of say, hey, would you like to see part of it being built? And send the new owner to the video, either PeerTube or, yeah, PeerTube or, I mean, YouTube obviously, but. See, I like having the PeerTube because it's my server. And that way I know all of my stuff is there and under my auspices. Okay, so there we go, a little circle of fur. Now I am going to, because like I keep saying, I don't like rough edges. So because if we were to just sort of glue this down or stitch it down to the head as is, it's got this kind of rough net edging, and I don't like that. That's bad. So I always fold this over and I glue it so we get a nice kind of clean finished edge. It would look like a toupee, exactly. It would look like a bad toupee. We don't want that. Now, the nice part about that is, since fur does have a direction, and this is obviously going in that direction, you only have to do that for the leading edge, as it were, where the fur that's going to hang down the back, you never see that, right? That just hangs over the edge. So you never see the netting. You only need to do that up until the point, sort of like halfway, up until the point that the fur changes direction, or goes in that direction. It overhangs the netting. The other thing we're going to do is make a roll. So these are the, when I do ostrich feathers, I always get this stuff. This is the fringe that's already attached to a ribbon. It's very easy to work with. But usually what I do is drop a whole bunch of stuff on the ground. Sorry, let me just pick that up. I will take this and you roll it on the ribbon itself, and you can make like a little bundle of feathers, and it looks really good. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna cut like a length, just like, I don't know, 20 inches or so. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how you're feeling, how much you got. Now this is where not only am I using hot glue, but it's gonna be dangerous. You're gonna get your fingers right up close to it. So be careful if you do this. I am definitely gonna burn myself, but I know that going in. So take a little bit of glue and I put it along a bit of the edge. Don't try and do the whole thing at once. Wait for it to cool for a second and then start rolling it. And then you just keep doing that all the way along. And the glue will just sort of hold the roll together. Make sure you keep the feathers out of getting caught down into the glued ribbon. Again, you could very well do this with contact cement, and that would be the smarter way. But why would we do something the smarter way when we could do it like this? Now, the reason you don't want to do the whole length at one time is A, that's hard to manage, and B, by the time you get to the other end, the glue will already be set and it won't hold in place. So you want to do it in little chunks. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, my glue gun, I'll show you in a second. I use a precision nozzle on my glue gun. Most glue guns that you get out of the box come with those big chunky nozzles, and this one's got like a nice thin, that's what you want. You want to be able to more precisely control. Again, hot glue has limited uses, but it does come in handy. Just don't try and use it for everything. So finishing it is always a bit of a challenge to not burn yourself. Here we go. So we're just gonna hold it in place for a second. There we go. We have a nice little bundle of feathers. So the other thing I want to do, because this is the side that gets glued to the head, that's a Dan Shakur's way to talk about it. Yeah, well, that's why we use this kind of stuff, because look at just the motion on that, right? It adds so much. I always glue a strip of fur around the base here, just so you don't see the ribbon. And in this case, since we are using a different color fur, I gotta make sure I use the right color of fur. So I just wanna cut a strip of this fur. It doesn't have to be very long because the diameter isn't very, I don't know, like maybe half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. You want it to be slightly taller than the ribbon. And make sure that's going to go all the way around. Oh yeah, that's going to, you could go around twice if we wanted. All right, but that's what I'm going to do. It's going to glue. I can hear Jimmy outside the door yelling. Soon, Jimmy. And so basically I just do the same thing. I'm going to roll it like I did with the feathers. I want to make sure that I have the fur going up the same direction as the feathers. So we're just going to lay this out. And put some glue along there. And again, just doing little chunks. And at this point, it wouldn't be a bad idea to decide where the back is going to go, because that's where you want to put the kind of closing seam, right? So I can see that I only need like this much, so I'm just going to trim this off. Here we go. And then put a little glue down in there and hold it closed until the glue sets. Making sure I don't get any glue on my fingers, because that would hurt. I'm just gonna hold that closed. And you can see you're always gonna have a little kind of bit where the kind of closing seam is. We're just going to put that in the back so you don't see it. Now, oh yes, we need to do the edge on the toupee. So basically it's the same thing. I just put a little bit of glue along the edge, a little bit at a time. Carefully fold it. This is where you can really burn yourself. Fold it over. Hold it in place for a second. Being careful not to burn yourself. And just do that all along the edge until you hit the point where the fur is going to cover up the netting itself. Or you can go all the way around, and that would be even better, but usually unnecessary. Again, I know I keep sounding like a broken record, but be very, very careful when you're getting your fingers this close to hot glue. You can easily give yourself a non-trivial burn. Just FYI, because you don't always think of it, one of the essential pieces of equipment in every shop should be a first aid kit. I've got one right up here. Have a first aid kit and know where it is at all times. Okay, now that that lecture's over, there we go. So we have a nice toupee that isn't going to have a net edge. So the fun part now is attaching this to the puppet. So there's a couple of options, of course. The way a real expert would do it is to stitch this on. That's not going to happen, at least not on stream. I usually just glue it down, and this is where it can get real dicey because I only have two hands. It would be nice to have more than that to do this, because as you can see, what I have to do, you want to have a hand inside the puppet. You want to put the glue down, and then you want to attach the stuff and try to make it even. A challenge. But I'm going to put the top nut on first. Remembering, of course, that we want the closing seam in the back. So this is where it gets kind of like, well, I got to put some glue on here, but I only have one hand to do it with. Oh boy, right? Don't put the glue on the puppet's head. Put the glue on the thing, and don't put a lot of glue. Kevin is doing his part to help puppets in need, yes. So no big deal. The thing with first aid kits is when you have one, you never need it, but when you don't have one, you need it all the time. Yes, exactly. This is why I have a first aid kit in my backpack. Ever since I had this with me, I never needed it. Circle broken. There you go. See, yeah, break the curse. Exactly. Well said. Yeah. So, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put glue under here. Then I'm gonna put it in place, and then I just gotta sit here and hold it until the glue sets. It's not ideal, particularly if I had two extra. If I was one of the Fallen, one of the Elixni, hey, there's a Destiny reference for you. This would be a bunch easier. They got 4 arms. But we're gonna try and put some glue in here without, you know what, I am gonna use my other arm. Just to put some glue in there. Being careful, don't glop it around, because if you do that, it's game over. Then quickly get inside the puppet, put it in place, hold it down, then have a seat and relax, because nothing else is going to happen until this glue sets. This is the glue setting portion of the build stream. Do not move this until you are absolutely sure the glue is set, because you can create a great big unrecoverable mess very easily. Ask me how I know. And unfortunately, the only way to do this is time. We're actually going to go over time a little bit because I do want to demonstrate putting the hair on, and that's where we're going to end. But I need, this is super important. I need to make sure this glue is set. All right, okay, here we go. I know it looks a little weird in that direction. Don't worry about it. I know it's a little uneven. It'll, you know, over time, it won't matter. So for the hair, pretty much the same deal. I think I can do this one-handed though. So I want to put the hair back here. Hopefully there's enough glue in this. Well, you know what? Let me load that up with another glue stick just so we don't run out of glue partway through. That would be another very bad thing. Also not easy to do one-handed. Oh, that's already, okay, never mind. It's fine, it's fine. So I just put it around the edge, not too close to the edge. You don't want it spilling out. And in the middle, don't overdo it. Carefully lift it up and drop it in place. And then hold it down. You can feel, I can feel the heat. And the nice thing about this is super permanent. Like it's literally kind of doing a little bit of melting. So because this is on fibrous material, the hot glue works really well. Unlike with most other applications of hot glue. Okay. That should be good. Be careful, don't move this around too much until you're absolutely sure the glue is set. But, see? Here we go. I know it's a little wonky. I'll straighten it all out. And I may actually end up adding a bit more fur, you know, up in here just to make sure it's all kind of even. It's a little uneven, a little more uneven than I like at the moment, but you know, for a seat of your pants kind of thing, that's pretty good. Oh, also I'm hungry, so you know, it's not too bad. It's a little wonky, but I'll sort that out. Before it gets to the shop, we'll sort this out. Yes, so that's, wow. Reached the end of the stream and survived, which was a question at the beginning. Wowee. Whew. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you on the Owncast server and on the PeerTube server. That's great. I love seeing that. We'll be back next week. I don't think we'll be streaming Frankie, but this is a full weekend because we got the podcast and we got Mother's Day, and I have a computer to build on Saturday, which we will talk about on the podcast. So I don't know that we'll be Frankie Play streaming this weekend. Doubtful because it's full already, but we'll see. I might be able to squeeze one in. But other than that, thank you very much for joining me. As always, OperationPuppet.com for all of your Operation Puppet needs. All the links are there. I'm going to go have lunch. So have a good day, all. Let's see if the text works. Place your bets.